All
Thank you,
right.
Craig.
Thank you, Craig. Anyway, hey everyone, to our what is this? Our first episode of
Hey,
trying to
man,
make it
we're not
happen.
as bad. We're not as bad as Marvel and DC with fucking restarting with number ones, okay?
Yeah,
So this is our fourth attempt. It's about 2,000 for them.
yeah, fair enough. But today we're going to be covering a collection of stories for the best superhero to ever exist, which is the Batman. Don't at me. And this episode is possible because the idea for it, although I already kind of thought about it way back then, but it came to the forefront recently, was because of my friend here, Dakota, who read Failsafe,
Yes.
who was sleeping on the Zdarsky run.
Oh man, I really need to stop sleeping on Zdarsky because every time I'm like, I don't know, and I read something and I'm like, man, this is peak fiction. Why is he so good?
Yeah, although people will probably tell you like, oh, the recent arc that wasn't really good, but the thing is like the premise of the arc after Failsafe, which is called the Batman of Gotham, it's good. However, some people criticize some parts of it because of. I think it's because it was setting up something for the 900th issue, so it had to be big, spectacular, knowing what it was. But well, that'll be a story for another time.
Yeah, I'm like, that's gonna have to be different. I haven't read any of that shit.
Yeah, let's just give it some context. But this arc was Zdarsky's first arc for Batman, joining Batman
Man.
125. But here's the thing about us. We're not going to do a full-on review of what happens. We're not doing that. You know, we're going to assume you've already read it. If you haven't, spoilers. Obviously, don't stop listening. Go read it. You know, or go watch a YouTube channel that explains it because spoilers are ahead. Now,
Very much so, because there was no way I was going to talk about certain parts of this book.
yeah,
Because I'm not saying I'm a big fan of the Batman character. I do like him. I'm not as big
yeah,
fan as Gage here, but when I see peak fiction, it doesn't matter how I feel about them. I will acknowledge it as such. And holy fucking shit, everyone, Failsafe is peak, and I mean
yeah, it
this
is.
peak superhero fiction. I've never seen someone just walk onto the scene and go, no, let me try my hand at Batman and literally make the best fucking story since Dark Knight Returns. And that's a bold claim.
Wow, yeah, it is. Some people will probably be like heresy.
I don't care.
Yeah.
What are you gonna say? Who are you gonna compare him to? Can't say he automatically just shit all over anything Tinian did. So everything Tinian did just got washed away. What are you gonna say? What Williamson? Williamson was like 2 issues, and everyone forgot he even touched the book.
Yeah, I know. I think he was wasn't he like a transition guy for it? They're like, hey, can
He
you
was
write
like,
this?
well, they made it seem like he was going to be the main writer because that's how he announced it. He was like, yeah, I'm going to be taking over Batman from Tinian, starting with like issue 120. Who gives a fuck? And
And then
he
DC
did
went,
like
nah.
2 or 3 issues. Yeah, no, literally, they're like, nah, Zdarsky, please. You made that
Although,
one good Spider-Man book that everyone loves. How about you make a Batman book everyone loves? And he went, got you.
also Daredevil that everyone loves,
Oh yeah, I
including me.
forgot about that. I haven't read that.
Another thing he's sleeping on, folks. The Zdarsky run of Daredevil, which
Listen,
is
just
ending
like
soon.
Batman, just like Daredevil, I too can't see myself reading that.
It's good though. You should give it a try.
I will once it's collected in like an omnibus. Cause I was going to read the hardcovers, but then like the first two are out of print. I'm like, I'm not going to do this because also the paperbacks are getting out of print now too. So I'm like, there's no reason, and I
Yeah.
refuse to read digital unless I'm pirating, allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly. But yeah, Zdarsky, he jumped on. Although before we move on, I will say if Williamson did get on Batman, I think he would have done a magnificent job. I think
Oh,
so.
Williamson's a fantastic writer. Easy. I,
Yeah.
I subscribe to his Substack, his like special newsletter. Everything that man touches that I have read is fucking gold. Also, he's like Ed
Everything he
Bryson for
touches turns
DC.
to gold.
The
Yeah,
fucking
the gold.
fact, he's got that Midas touch. Flash. Tell me one
Yeah,
issue of Flash he wrote that was shit. You fucking can't.
yeah.
You literally
There's always,
can't.
there's always that one person. Actually,
Have you read Rogues? Masterpiece.
yeah.
Masterpiece of a black book.
Jeremy Adams is doing good, but he's leaving to do. He's doing Green Lantern
Of
now.
course. Ooh, can't wait for that to get canceled fucking 12 issues in.
But okay, but before we move on as well, and it's not like Williamson's not writing Batman. He's currently going to do Batman and Robin, and he's going to do Batman and Robin when it comes out in September, I think. And he's doing a great job with Superman, so I'm happy with where he is. But moving on
Yes, back.
with
Let's focus.
with
Let's
okay
focus.
to the main event. Now Zdarsky joined. That he became writer of Batman, starting with issue 125,
Mm-hmm.
the
With one of
great
my
artist.
favorite
Yeah, with the great,
Jorge.
yeah, with the great person on art. We all know who he is.
He's
Great.
honestly going to go down as one of the best Batman artists, no doubt. Because he's not new to Batman either. I mentioned earlier Tinian. The best lasting thing Tinian did for Batman is introduce Jorge Jimenez to that fucking title.
Yeah.
Because that
So
dude, he has a definitive Batman look. Love his Batman, how he draws them. Perfect.
yeah,
Wonderful. Up there with like Greg Capullo and fucking Tony S. Daniel, if you ask me.
yeah,
So Zdarsky is basically given an all-star team.
I would agree with that.
Like, and I would say I would feel they gave Zdarsky the same kind of freedom that they kind of gave Scott Snyder in the beginning, where they said, "Fuck it, do whatever you want, just sell."
That pretty much was the new
And they
52.
both
Fuck it.
Yeah, yes, we're not talking about that though. I feel
That'll
like
be
they
its own
gave
video.
Zdarsky that level of freedom simply because the stuff he does in the book is like you would not have done that during
Yeah.
like fucking Tom King's run. You couldn't
Oh
have
yeah.
done that during Tinian because Tinian couldn't think of anything that magnificent.
Yeah.
Um, your thoughts on that before we really start into the story, which I think should be covered. Like the main reason why we like the story, what parts and beats we thought made it solid.
Yeah. So do you want to go first what you liked about it, or
Yeah,
do I go
I would
first?
love to get this on this. Never mind, I'm taking that back. You don't go first, Gage. Fuck you. Wait, nerd. So, so
I
things
guess
that
there is
make me
one
like the
there is one
story.
thing. There actually is a good way we could do this. Is probably do what we're about to do, but break it up into different things. Like we could do like the premise, the writing,
Yes,
the art. So we could probably start with the premise. So how
yes.
do you feel about the premise of
So
Failsafe?
I love it because we always get the stories where the hero is always like, oh, out of nowhere, something of his own making is coming to undo its creator, kind of a deal. And they always like, oh, I pull out a win in the end, but it's always the
Yeah.
last wire moment kind of deal. That
Yeah.
does not happen.
Oh yeah, it does not happen. For those who read this, we all know
Like,
what we're talking about.
yeah, like spoilers, Bannon doesn't fucking win, but he also
Yep.
doesn't lose. It's a very
It's a
weird
fucking
situation,
draw. It's a
literally.
draw.
And the thing that makes that even better is this is such a big issue. What's happening to Batman by Failsafe, the creation of his own,
Yeah.
is the fact that the Justice League have been involved, and it has the same plans Batman has for the Justice League. So it literally just
Yeah.
fucking beat everyone. Had no problem. Did not proverbially sweat because his robot can't sweat. It was not
Yeah.
stressing fucking moment when just like, all right, John's flamethrower, hot girl, magnets, I guess, because fuck it. Even though they literally say in that book, nth metal's not magnetable, fuck it. Who cares?
Well, I'm
That was
Batman,
weird.
so
No, literally though. I
yeah.
forget what he does with Green Arrow. He just like knocks him out or something. I
He
can't
just
remember.
beats the shit out of him. Because, of course, he doesn't have a certain thing for Green Arrow because, like in DC, he
Black
said, "Oh,
Canary.
we don't have a contingency plan for you, Wally."
You're just a dude. Get fucked.
Yeah,
Black
breaks his
Canary just gets
arm.
like an oxygen mask thrown on her. That's like very low oxygen, so
Yeah,
she can't breathe. Which I thought was a genius way to knock her out of the fight. Which to
yeah,
it's just the fact he won.
yeah. He did. Now, if I can give my bit in, is I do agree. Is like, you
Caught
know,
up in
we
this. He
do.
will kill you.
Yeah, I do find it interesting
He has
because
no power.
yeah, the premise for me about this book, like Batman building something to counter, like to basically be his failsafe because he has contingency plans for everyone, which goes back to the beginning.
Including himself.
Yeah, it's like I always thought that was an interesting premise because we always heard like him say, yeah, remember that Tower of Babel story where it's like, which introduced the contingency plan stuff is, and it always had we always had that conversation between him and Clark saying, you had contingency plans for everyone but yourself. What are you gonna do to stop you? And Bruce would say, the Justice League or you, because you could just kill me very easily or stop me very easily. And in this story, in 125, it was retcon. They retconned that story with something I think was really acceptable. Is they have that same conversation, and he goes, what are we supposed to do to stop you? And he goes, the Justice League, it's you. It's like, yeah, but you have plans to stop us, jackass. So how are we supposed to be ready for you if you're prepared? And it kind of cuts away. So the whole idea is that he built this android to counter everything he can throw at it, to be like him, to think like him, to fight like him, to deflect anything he throws at him. And it's also a robot, so take that as you will. And not only that, he seemed to have, no, it's confirmed, he wiped his mind so he wouldn't be prepared for it, which I was like, that's such a Batman thing to do, but also kind of smart.
I like that it wasn't even like him himself. It was the Batman of Zdarsky that
Yeah,
helped make
true.
it. It wasn't
Yeah.
Bruce. It was Zdarsky Batman, who was just Batman unhinged
Also, it's Zur
for
and Ah.
5 pages.
Yeah. It's yeah, and I thought that was interesting because he appeared later after getting his ass kicked. Also, yeah, like Failsafe, like he's the whole, and also what I thought was interesting was the only reason he activated, now people would now he activated because in the issue, this is a big spoiler coming up, but we already said that, is
Yeah.
it seems as if Batman's framed for killing the Penguin. And it's in the news,
Yeah.
and Failsafe activates. Now people might say, well, what about all the other times Batman was framed or misunderstandings happened? It's implied that Alfred had a remote
Yeah.
to turn it
Every
off,
time.
but now Alfred's gone, so no one was
Thanks,
there to stop
Tom.
it. I also like it. Yeah, I also do think it's interesting that Alfred knew.
Oh
Of course
yeah.
he did.
I
That's
never
that's
thought
pretty
of it.
great. That's pretty great actually, because it's like he trusted Alfred with that. He told no one else but Alfred. But
Alfred.
that's
Why
he
is
didn't
this
have a.
weird ticking every time I get framed for killing someone? It don't matter about it, Wayne. Just go to fucking
You think
sleep.
Alfred would have put that in his will? Like, hey, remember to turn off failsafe, please. Oh God.
The code is 1 2 3 4 5 start.
Just and if it doesn't work, just hit reset. But but Alfred's not here, so it wasn't turned off. And when I first saw failsafe, I was like, what the hell is this? But I kind of assumed I was like, okay, it's a robot. Looks like Batman. It's called failsafe. And I kind of just I put two and two together. It doesn't take a world's greatest detective to figure it out. I was like, oh, it's going after him because it seems like he killed Penguin. And oh my god, dude, this thing when it sneaks up on Bruce, it's terrifying looking. It's got the red lights. He's like Terminator.
Yes. It was basically the fucking Terminator on steroids.
Yeah, it's like
And that's what
he was
that
so
made it
desperate to get
enjoyable.
away. He was so desperate to get away because he couldn't fight him. Like he had to use the Batmobile to drag him out of the cave, and then he
Which
starts
fucked him
fighting
up even more.
Failsafe. Yeah, I like how he tries to grapple away. It just grabs his cape. It just starts beating the living shit out of him. It's just
Failsafe was really good. That character, like even though it's a robot, I will say that's one of my favorite like villains for the simple fact now that
yeah,
it knew how to beat everyone and
yeah,
it
that's
did
true.
it.
I also like how
And it scared Batman.
what's more interesting is like he you can understand people might say like, oh, why does it have that in there? It's like, well, assuming because Bruce is the type of person that's like, if I go bad, I want to be turned in, even if you guys don't agree. So like, if this thing comes after me, I have to make sure you don't stop him. I need to be destroyed if I actually do go bad. So it's kind of like that. But yeah, I thought it was crazy because when I read that when the issue ended with Zurin R, fighting Failsafe, it was proven he couldn't stop him either because he wiped his mind too. Because he knew like, oh no, Bruce would just turn into me and just figure out the idea, so I got rid of it too. I like how he's like laying, like dying in the manor, and then fucking Superman shows up. He's like, step away from my friend.
Oh,
And
that
it's
is one of
like,
the coldest images in comics. Holy fucking shit. The
yeah,
silhouette of Superman with the
like,
fucking cold breath. Ooh,
like,
that was
like
chill.
you're not a man. I'll destroy you. But it's funny because at that issue, I kind of called it. I was like, oh no, this isn't gonna end well for Clark, is it? Because if this thing's programmed to stop him, he probably has kryptonite. And Lord and behold, when we see the next story, he just reaches into his chest, pulls out two kryptonite shards. He's like, "You want?" It just chases after him, and also jukes him out because he's gonna go back to Bruce for the killing blow, but then turns around and just stabs Superman. And I was like, "Oh my god!" But I also like how it's implied that like, oh, he doesn't kill. He just tries to like get you out of the way. I'm like, well, that's a killing blow right there. If that's
Well,
untreated.
yeah, even like Batman, who was working on him when he was all messed up, he was even saying like, yeah, if this doesn't get fixed like in a day, like he's just going to die tonight.
Yeah, we gotta get him. Gotta get him to the Silver to Solitude or whatever. Also, a little bit before this event, um, I like how all the Bat family shows up, and they just get they oh my god, they get fucking deconstructed into like he just I saw them all appear. I was reading the comic and like they all appear and I'm like this isn't gonna end well. He just beats them flawlessly because it's like not only is it like implied that Batman's just better than them in general, this is a robot that's not gonna hold back. So he just slaps the fuck out of them, beats them up. And then I like that when Duke shows up, that important character that Snyder created that never was a big deal.
The character created.
Yeah, the greatest hero that never happened. I like how he shows up, and it's because of him. He scans his helmet and figures out where the other cave is. I'm like, thanks, Duke. You fucking
Wasn't Batman like, no, no.
go. He gets with Tim. He's like, go, drive for the love of God. Yeah, and then
No.
yeah, they fight. Just leave them. They're dead. Just flies away. Yeah, they drive away, and then then the whole Wayne Manor fight. He brings out Zurin R, and that doesn't work either. But yeah, but they escape. Tim, and Clark escape, and they're flying. And Bruce is like, he's gonna catch up to us, so I'm gonna just jump into the ocean, I guess. and then he sets off a beacon, which of course he has, and Aquaman appears. He's like, I'm useful, hey. And then like
Oh man, the Aquaman part killed me, dude. Holy shit. Because
yeah.
after he recovers, that part killed me is because Failsafe literally just says fuck it, I'm gonna just terrorize everything until Batman wakes up and goes, man, he's making a lot of ruckus. I'm gonna have to come to him. Which, by the way, fuck you, Failsafe. That was a great plan.
Well, yeah, because it's supposed to think like him, it knows him, so it's like I gotta draw you out. And the only reason he does so much damage is because he doesn't know he's in a fucking coma for a couple weeks. He's in a Atlantean healing pod or something. And he also has a suit there, I guess.
Oh yeah, that was weird. Yeah,
Hey Arthur, can I
yeah, I
put one
remember
here?
that.
I'll pay rent. Fucking,
Here's $2. Take it or leave it. I'm broke now.
I got some doubloons for you.
Your
Oh
people
shit.
likes that, right?
Your people. He's just like you people.
What do you mean, you people? I'm talking about Atlanteans. What the fuck you think I'm talking about?
Shut up, Arthur. You're
I
not.
like how Arthur starts talking to one of his guards, and he's like, "Yeah, we're not going to give up my homie's location. Never. He saved the world more times than you could count, homie." And in the moment, like a fail-safe thing shows up, he's like, "Hey man, where's Batman?" He goes, "I'll leave y'all alone. Just tell me where he is." He goes, "Oh, he's over here." And Arthur just looks at him like, "Bruh."
Yeah.
They immediately sell Batman out.
Get the hell out of here. You're gonna destroy my home. He's gonna like lift us out of the ocean or something. Get out of here.
Go
He's gonna
home. Go to your
he's gonna
family.
he's gonna lower the oxygen level in the water. He just starts emitting CO2. Ah, in a few decades, you guys are gonna be fucked. In a few centuries. But yeah. And then he eventually returns the. Actually, and this is probably the part that got you a little bit more. He goes to the moon to get a weapon,
Oh
right? He
man.
confronts Failsafe on the moon. And how does that fight go, Dakota?
Oh man, not fucking well. Not fucking well. Man, the moon part, I was like, big brain move. Goes to the moon, him, he's probably destroying all the other teleports. I got at least 3 minutes left to get this weapon out of the treasury. And then you immediately just see fucking Legion, not Legion, sorry, Failsafe walking like, man, nice place you got here. What's happening, Batman? How you doing?
What's up? I can go to the moon too.
He's like, you thought it'd take 3 minutes. I gave you 20 seconds. So then Batman starts destroying random shit in the like base. Like he's like, okay, bam, make this explosion in the airlock. That'll buy me 20 seconds. Gets a laser gun, shoots him once. He goes, cool. I made a dent. And then proceeds to get his ass handed to him
Yeah. Oh
again.
yeah. That gun was all I had. I'm just a man.
Literally that scene though.
Yeah.
Um, so then after that, fucking my favorite part is the escape from the moon to Earth. This is
Yeah.
the
Oh,
only part I have
he gets
any
thrown into the
complaint
cold
about.
vacuum of space.
He throws himself into space.
Yeah. And then
And why are you
he
gaslighting
proceeds.
everyone? He throws himself there.
Yeah. I probably saw myself.
I do this to myself. Space.
Yeah.
Um, the thing that made it great is how he's just like, yeah, as long as he takes like an oxygen tank from like a broken like delivery pod, plugs it into his like little face mask thing. He goes, cool, I have 11 hours. I'm going to shoot my grappling hook in space to trajectory myself or position myself, I should say, in the right spot to hit Earth just right. And then you know what happens? He goes, as long as I don't pass out. 3 squirts in, passes out, wakes up him. Oh, well, there it is. I'm just going to fucking crash. And he fucking survives a crash from the moon to Earth. I'm like, that was
Yeah.
bullshit.
He
I
lands
don't care.
strategically. He lands strategically in the Arctic to go to the Fortress of Solitude. because he planned for that.
Bullshit.
Yeah, and
I
what I
hated
thought
that
was
part.
yeah, and then he has Failsafe chasing him. And what's interesting about this is that while he's in the Arctic chasing Batman, Superman shows up and he's like, "Round two, bitch! I got a kryptonite proof suit."
Oh yeah, and then he just breaks the fucking glass in like the helmet or something, right?
Yeah, that one weakness.
Like real sneak shit. He's like, okay, yeah, you're immune to it now, but now you're not. Like, get fucked,
Yeah,
nerd.
yeah, that's the dumb thing. It's like he shouldn't have a glass thing on a kryptonite suit, on his lead suit, because it's like it'll go through the glass anyway. And
Like he just broke it to get him with it was funny. So like,
yeah,
what if he just and then he
he
breaks?
just
I'm like, okay, cool.
he just pulls a kryptonite rock and just throws it in his face. Fucking loser.
Yeah, imagine if he was like a Riddler or something, be like, those in glass houses, Superman.
Oh, here's some humble pie.
Man, what a
Jesus.
show that version would
And
have
then what I
been.
thought,
No,
and then what I thought was really funny was he gets to the Fortress of Solitude. Batman does, and Tim's like, "What's going on?" He goes, "What happened to you?" He goes, I fell from the moon." It's like, what?
I feel from the moon.
I fell from the moon. What does that even mean? uh, yeah, like that really summed it up. And it's funny because so many people had a problem with that, him falling in space. They're like, really? He survived that?
I
I
am one
kind
of
of
those people.
I I do get the criticism, but like his suit,
Like if
like
he had
okay,
like a special suit, like an actual, like if he had like the Hellbat on, fuck it,
yeah,
understandable. I believe he'd survive that in that. But he's just wearing,
yeah,
yeah, my suit. It is thermal protected. I can survive any weather, so the impact's not going to be as. I'm like, well, what do you mean the fucking impact? Yeah, you'll survive heat. Fuck it, I'll buy your suits heat proof or fireproof. Who
yeah,
gives a shit? But impact, my guy, you must have shattered every bone, every organ.
yeah. Also,
Bullshit.
also he covers his mouth with that thing, right? What about his eyes? He's in
Don't
the
worry about it.
cold vacuum of space with no eye protection.
Don't worry about it. You don't need it. He Batman.
Yeah. Okay, and then like he meets, and then Superman's defeated, shocking by Failsafe again, and he's coming to the fortress, and Bruce is like, "All right, he might be
Let's think of the
he might be."
virus.
And this is the stupid thing I thought was I get the moment, but it's also kind of silly because he's like it's meant to take on Batman, but it's no match for Batman and Robin. And I'm like, first of all, just beat up all your
Didn't you
sidekicks.
just have a bunch of Robins like
Yeah,
not
it's
even a
because
day ago in that comics time?
yeah, he just wiped the floor with the Justice League. You think a Boy Wonder is gonna level the odds? Like that's not how that works.
Yeah, so
Uh,
I love that he makes a virus and they're like he injects it because he shot a hole in him earlier. He's like, that's my opening. Bam, stabs him with the virus. Fail safe. Okay, and the what would you do? Oh no, compassion. Anyways, and then just fucking shoots Batman after everyone thought he was going to be cool.
yeah,
That was
it's
the part
funny.
that fucked me up.
Yeah. However, it is implied. It's funny because he's like, "Oh no, compassion." Okay, well, I still have a mission to stop you. So you think he would have thought that through? Because it's like, yeah, you just gave him compassion, so he won't kill you, but like he still has to stop you though. So you should have seen that coming. Because he still has to go with his
Uh,
coding.
and then doesn't he just like shut himself off after? He's like, all right, cool, I'm done.
Yeah, he blasts him, which will explain what happens in a second, for context. And then Tim's like, "What the fuck's wrong with you?" And he goes, "That was compassion."
Oh, no, it was for him. That is compassion,
Yeah, and then he
which I
turns
thought was
blue,
cool as
and then
fuck.
he turns blue and flies away, which I thought was
He
cool. So it's
becomes
like,
a
oh,
compassion.
flies away. By the way, doesn't self destruct or shut off. which I can only assume because he did what he was supposed to do. He's probably going to go back to where he came from, which is the old cave, and probably just shut off permanently because he's no longer needed. But I don't know. Unless he was unless like you would think it's like, well, Gotham would still need a protector, so I would just code him to be Batman after I'm gone. You think that, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's all the Robins and all that shit.
Yeah. He just pretends to be Batman. It's like, oh, hey guys. It's like, you kicked our ass earlier. Shut up. But yeah, I remember seeing that he blasts Batman, and then it cuts to Batman like horribly like scarred up, and he has like a bunch of his costume missing. He's like passed out on like a street. In context, he sends him to a different reality, a different universe, a different Earth, where it leads into the next arc where, Batman of Gotham with a hyphen, where he goes to a universe where Bruce never became Batman. There's no Batman, which we'll talk about another time once we get to that story.
Yeah.
Overall, I thought this was and it's kind of like what I kept telling you, and I think you agree with me at that point, it was a pretty strong opening for Zdarsky with Batman, I would say.
I think that is he's going to probably, unless he keeps up this level of writing, he's going to probably suffer from what is called you peak, like with your first story,
Yeah,
where like everyone's going to shit on anything that comes after because his first story was so good.
yeah, which is definitely happening. I would say already happening now because you would have to read the issues to get the context, or probably just look at other stuff. But people are already kind of doing that because of the story of the current arc. However, I
Is
kind of
it so
defend.
good?
The thing is, I defend it because I think it had to go in a certain direction because of the milestone. I would say, especially when you do read 135, you'll understand what I'm talking about. Like, if 135 wasn't a milestone, he wouldn't have set all that shit up. It would have just been like, oh yeah, new universe, I beat that guy, I go home. That would have been it. It wouldn't have had to like traveling across stuff and all that, and making it look like it's like, oh, it's fan service. It's like, no, it's just he built up to this in a way. So I give him I give him a benefit of the doubt. But yeah, which is 135. We'll have to talk about it in a separate episode, just based on that by itself, which is cool when you do read it. Um, but yeah, the premise of Failsafe, I like it. It definitely gave Batman a really cool contingency plan for himself. You know,
Mm-hmm.
like logically speaking, it's like, how would you stop him? Like people would say, well, no, Superman would just swoop in and break his neck. It's like, yeah, okay, but like, if he's gonna go bad, tactically, he would hide it and then wait for the right moment to be prepared. Like, if you actually think about Batman, that's what he would do. It's kind of like how, the origin of the Batman Who Laughs, he's kind of like, he knows he's turning, so he, like, lures all the Robins in and then kills them all. It was a trap. Remember that?
Yes, I remember that infamous panel of like the Jokerized Batman with the two like machine guns or something just blasting them.
Yeah, and then there was also him killing the Justice League on the Watchtower, which he lured them in. Like, that's what I mean. Like, that's a good example of, like, what is your contingency plan for you, Bruce? Like, Clark, that's a good question. Because if Batman went bad, he would wait to prepare, and then he would spring it on you. Like, that's what would happen. So it makes sense logically, I would say. But do you have any any final comments on the premise of the story of this book?
It was the best Batman story I've read since Dark Knight Returns, and I am looking forward to Volume 2
Ooh,
coming out on my birthday.
nice. Yeah, so it's volume 2 of which is the Batman of
Of the
Gotham.
Dark Yeah,
Yeah, I'll have to probably get that too. And
I'm gonna get it for sure.
yeah, and when you do read that, we will cover it. And yeah. All right, well that's the premise. Like we're done with the premise. Now, from issues 125 to 130, which constitute failsafe, how did you feel about the writing?
I liked it a lot. As we
Yeah.
kind of like went over when we did premise, kind of also did the story part of it. But like to actually
Yeah.
talk about the writing of it, I think he was very tight with everything. There's not a
Yeah.
line of dialogue that is wasted,
Yeah, I
and it
agree.
reads really fucking quickly. It is bam, bam, bam. It
Yeah.
is the pace that the story wants you to read it at.
Yeah, that was a thing I saw with I even noticed that myself, but I noticed I've seen like other channels and other people like in like the community talk about like, oh, this stuff goes like the pacing is fast, but it's so action packed. Yeah, I noticed that too, but it didn't feel rushed though. I felt like it was telling a good story. Like I thought it was still telling a good story at that point. And holy crap, at least with like although it was kind of rushed, from what we did get, those are some pretty good issues, I would say. Seeing Failsafe fight not only the Bat family but also the Justice League, I kind of wish we got more of that. Like we got bits and pieces of it, you know, him fighting because when he was getting onto the plane with Clark and Tim, and then there was some other scenes where they're trying to defend Batman or lure Failsafe out. I kind of wish we saw more of that, you know, but yeah. Also logically, I have a hard time believing Clark couldn't defeat Failsafe. Like
Maybe he managed
just
to get the jump on him, sure, but once he pulled out
yeah,
that kryptonite, I was like, no, Superman's done. He's done,
and
Zoe.
just fly at the speed of light and just tackle him and just rip him apart. But then again, that wouldn't be a good story, so I digress.
Well, then I'd imagine also ripping him apart would have revealed kryptonite anyways.
You fool!
I
Those.
let you beat my ass so I can hit you with this kryptonite, boy.
Yeah. Imagine.
So I genuinely think, in terms of writing, it is perfection. Minus, of course, the falling from the moon.
Yeah.
That was bullshit. You can't convince me otherwise. Everything else, though, tight.
Yeah, and that
Like,
was a big
this
criticism
really looks
of
right.
that was a big criticism of that arc was the space one. Because it's such a stretch. But then again, it's comics. But then again, I do get the
So you kind of
criticism.
got,
I do
listen,
get it.
man. My favorite comic of last year was literally Batman Spawn 3, and that book is fucking garbage. It's cool. It's great. I recommend it to everyone who's a fan of either character. But like at
Yeah.
the end of the day, that book is garbage, but it was fun.
Yeah.
Gage, have you read it yet?
I haven't read it yet.
Fucking read it, nerd. We're going to make another one on this.
We will. But but overall, I think we can agree the writing was pretty good, except for the space thing.
Yes.
Now, for the
Um,
final thing, which is the art.
oh, magnificent.
Yeah, the art's
Every page, every panel. I'm a huge Jorge Jimenez fan. Ever since I first saw him step up to Tinian's run on Batman, I was like, okay, this dude's going to be legendary. This dude beat my absolute favorite Batman artist, who was Tony S. Daniel, who is known for Batman Rest in Peace with Grant Morrison. That's like his big book that he did.
yeah,
That dude was my favorite Batman artist because he draws Batman no way I've ever seen anyone do it. How Jorge does it is what I like to call definitive comic book art. It's
yeah,
definitely 2D, but it's stylized enough, detailed enough that it's fantastic. It's recognizably comic while also just being an appealing piece of art in general. He fucking nails it every time, whether he's doing Batman or Nemesis Reloaded. He is
yeah,
fantastic.
yeah. I do agree. His art is very fantastic. It's really good. Um, like he just draws Batman very good. Like the whole
Oh yeah,
like and his art is the first thing I think about when I think what comic art should kind of strive to look like to a degree.
absolutely,
Yeah, it's just
absolutely.
yeah, it's good stuff. Like, oh my gosh. It,
Like
yeah,
that is comic art, unabashedly, not too detailed, not under detailed, perfect, down to the last minute.
yeah, and it's sad because he's not even gonna. I don't even think he's gonna be. I think it's because he's working on other stuff like Nemesis Reloaded, like you mentioned.
Nemesis is done.
Oh, or I think he's doing other stuff.
He's doing
Like
the
for instance,
Not Grant Morrison, Mark Miller project. That's like all of his comics coming together, like Kick
okay,
Ass, Hit Girl, Nemesis, which I can't wait to
uh-huh,
see that be a crossover. That sounds great.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
a side note, though. But
because
he's
I
going to be on that book.
because I did realize that starting 136, which does start the next arc for this Batman, for Zdarsky's Batman, which is the third ever arc, 136. Um, it's starting with a new artist. Her name's like I think it's like a female artist name. I think her name's Belen Ortega or something like that. But yeah, but her art seems okay. I'll have to look into it a little bit more. But yeah, I guess we can agree that the art is excellent because Jimenez, he can't do wrong. He's great.
Excuse me.
Yeah,
Let me see. But yeah, no, I'm big fan.
yeah,
Big fan.
yeah. It's really he's. I think we can all agree he's a good artist.
You know who also is a good artist?
Who?
Chip Zdarsky. Did you know he can draw?
Yeah. Oh, I knew that. Yeah, he does. He
He can
does. He
draw.
does pretty good as well. Makes you wonder if he would just go. You know what? I'll draw Batman too.
I want to be
Well,
shocked if his like final issue has like some stuff done by him
yeah. Yeah.
whenever that
So
comes.
yeah, I guess we'll see. It only sees. And so far, I think so far. Well, with art out of the way, I think with art, we're gonna move on to final thoughts here. So far, since he's already 2 arcs in, but you still gotta read the second one. But so far, 2 arcs in, with his third one starting in June. Obviously next month. I think Zdarsky, like Batman's in good hands with Zdarsky. I think
But
so.
for how long?
Eventually, you become the villain, But I you live long enough to become the villain. But I think he'll be fine because and for how long? Forever, for as long as he's contractually obligated to do this. I would say.
I mean, Kenyon was like offered straight up like exclusivity for another like year plus to do Batman, and he literally went, "Nah, that's fucking stupid. I'm gonna go back to doing indies where I actually make money. Deuces."
Fair point. And but I don't know. Maybe he will just do his until otherwise. He'll just do how long he was promised to do it for, and I think at that point he'll decide what he'll want to do. Which could be, who knows, maybe it's a year, and he's like, okay. Because from watching a interview he did with another channel we watch, which was he did an interview with Sal from Comic Pop.
Okay.
He was actually, I think I told you about this, but it was a long while ago. But he did an interview with Sal, and he was talking about how DC wanted to call him, and he was like, "All right, cool. I'll go to the meeting. I'll make sure I take note of that meeting." And he left the call, and he was like, "Oh God, they're gonna ask me to do Batman." And he was kind of, and his wife was like, "Oh, isn't that great?" He's like, "Yeah, no." And I get it. And he kind of had the whole idea of like the pressure. It's like Batman, he was kind of like, from what he said, he was just kind of like wary about it. Um, but he said he took it on upon himself, the classic thing of like, well, I thought I'd challenge myself and all that. Don't back away from it. Which it wasn't his first time doing Batman because before doing main, the current comic line Batman, he was doing a miniseries for Batman called Batman the Knight.
Yeah, I'm aware of that.
which chronicles Bruce's training across the world becoming Batman, which the art in that is also pretty good. And I gotta
Oh
wait till
yeah.
it comes out. I gotta wait till it comes out in July so I can just buy it collected because it looks great. But yeah, so far I think Batman, so far I think Batman's in good hands. You know, it I at least that's what I think. There's probably some naysayers out there who probably had like one or two hiccups in this otherwise like good writing he's doing, that want to make a fuss out of it. But I think, like the current arc, which people made a lot of fuss about, it's done and over with. Let's see what he can do now. Let's don't kick him while he's down. Let's see what he can bring to the table still. Because you got Failsafe still, which was really great, and most of Batman of Gotham was pretty great. Let's see what else he can bring before we kind of render a final judgment. Because I think the Milestone comic, which was 900, kind of derailed his second arc. I think it did. Like otherwise, it would have been a simple, "Oh, I'm here. I defeat the villain. I leave. I'm done." But it made it complicated, as you will see when you read 135, Dakota. So, but yeah, do you have any final thoughts
Um,
on
I
just
think
Failsafe
good.
or Zdarsky on Batman in general?
The Zdarsky on Batman. As long as he's on it, I will buy the collected editions. As long as it's good.
Fair point.
That's all I gotta say. That's how much I liked his writing on this. So I'll keep reading it as long as he's on it.
Yeah, yeah, and it's funny because um, we had a hiccup with 129, which included him falling to space, or was that early 130?
No, that was the final issue. So that was
Okay, so he
130.
okay,
It
so okay,
started at the end of 129, but it was all of like 130 where the majority
yeah.
of the fall
It,
happened.
it's funny because in the second arc, it's actually the second to last issue. He has the same hiccup. That's the issue where people start to have problems with it because of certain reveals, and then it leads into 135, which people are like, "Oh, you think you could fix this with fan service?" It's like, come on, it's still a fun story. Like, remember, it's comics, and two, I kind of wonder if, I do say the premise. Once you do know the premise, it is kind of shaggy, but come on, that's how it is sometimes. They aren't all going to be winners. Ugh. But he had an end goal in mind, and he had to get there somehow. Maybe it wasn't the best way, but it's what he chose. So, but who knows? There'll probably be better stories to come, which I'm looking forward to. And yeah, that's all I have to say. You have anything else to say?
No, that's it, man.
That's it. Well, all
Yeah.
right. Well, now Dakota. Now
Okay.
this entire episode, our comments on it should already be clear how we feel about this story.
Mm-hmm.
On a scale to 1 to 5, what
Okay.
is you? Would you recommend people to read this story? On what scale would you
Yes.
recommend it?
I would say 5. Easy.
5? Yeah, I kind of agree. I think you need to read it because one, it's really good. It's not god tier, but it's like, at least to me, it's like it's good. So like give it a shot, read it, so you can because it's a really good you know entry point for Zdarsky when it comes to Batman, and also the story itself is awesome. Like a Batman robot that could fight not only him but the Bat family and thinks like him, and also fights the Justice League. Like that's cool. It actually gives him an actual reasonable, logical contingency plan for himself. It's pretty cool, you know. And I think it's a really cool Batman villain that he created. That's awesome. Although what happened to Failsafe after this, maybe we'll get followed up on that, but I don't know.
I feel that'd be some shit we see in like a final volume kind of a deal.
Yeah, I am kind of wondering how he'll follow up on that. Maybe he went back to the Batcave, like I said earlier, and turned off. Went back into his like little pod, turned off because technically Batman's
What,
no longer on the
man?
planet. He's no longer in the
He's
universe.
watching
He's
me.
gone.
He's sleeping.
He's just sleeping. Yeah,
He's tired.
he powers down. Do 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 do. Like in
He's
Microsoft.
watching like red Z's on his eyes.
Oh, that'd be great. Well, alrighty. I guess that concludes our review of Failsafe. Like Dakota said, give it a read. Hell, both of us, read it. It's awesome. Please read it. If you haven't already, read it. And if you've read it, but your friend hasn't, recommend it to them too. It's good stuff. So, after that, I guess that's it, huh?
Yep, that's it.
Well, alrighty. I guess we're signing off then. I guess we'll see you guys in the next episode when we talk about who knows what it'll be.
Come on,
We
Gage,
didn't
read
even
Batman Spawn 3, you son of a bitch.
we didn't even think we'd get through this. So let's see what happens.
Oh,
We still have a lot to learn.
catch you later.
Alrighty, catch you later. See you guys next time.
Yee. So now